Now we're going to be looking at finding all the unknown sides and angles. This can be pretty challenging because in the past we've been saying, hey, can you find this specific angle or this specific side? And you can look at it and kind of figure out, well, should I use this law or this law, sine, cosine, but you're in the cosine section, so maybe it's kind of obvious. Now we are mixing everything up, so it's not clear where to start, which unknown you should start with, nor is it clear which angle, which formula you should use, sine or cosine. And so we now have to try to figure out where do we start and how do we start. The other thing to consider, and this is actually a major point, is that sometimes you can find multiple answers. So for instance, you've got this table. This table, you can use a calculator, but a table is nice because it spits out or generates answers from 0 to 180, where, for at least for sine, a calculator will not do anything above 90 degrees. So, at least for these triangles here. So we need to take a look at, okay, we got sine and we got cosine. And what we should notice is that cosine has a unique number and sine has duplicates. So I'm looking at 208, 0.208. That is angle 12. So sine of 12 is 208. But there's another angle that also gets me 208 on the other page. And where is it? Here it is, 168. So if I see 208 and I'm being asked, can you find the angle that gets me at 208? I don't know which one it is. Is it 168? Or is it up here and a 12? I don't know. Now, where is 208 for cosine? Cosine, does it have a 208? Yes, it does. It's 78. Is there another 208 that I have to worry about? And I see a negative 208, but that's not the same thing. This whole back page, in fact, is negatives. So there is only one 208 for cosine, and it was 78 degrees. It is unique. So a good rule of thumb is that because cosine can differentiate between the 0 to 90s and the 90s to 180s, we should choose cosine. It can do a lot of heavy lifting for us and can choose the right angle. But sometimes we are not able to start with cosine, and we are forced to start with sine. Or partway through, we're given the option, and we might choose to do sine. If you choose or if you're forced to, just consider that there's going to be multiple answers, and that sometimes those answers will get rejected. Let's take a look at the first example. Find the unknown side. So I'm going to start by labeling, what do I have? This is B, this is A, and this must be C. So I'm going to do A, B, and C. A, B, C. A, B, C. And I know lowercase c is 20. Capital B is the angle, that's 16 degrees. Lowercase b is 8. Now I have to decide, what do I find first and how will I find it? So the best way to do that is to take a look at seeing if you can start with sine. Because if you can start with sine, then, I don't particularly like it, but that might help you realize that, well, if I can start with sine, I probably can't start with cosine. So I take a look. I've got a full pair of b's. Okay, I need a full pair for the sine law. As well, I have a partial pair of c's. I've got the lowercase c. I'm just missing the angle. So I could do the sine law, and I would have to find c first. For instance, if I have a full pair of b's and I look at A, I can't choose that because I'm missing two things. I'm missing the angle A and the side. So that's not possible. But I could do C. So there's a possibility. Sine law starting with C. So I'm going to write that down. Capital C could be found using the sine law. Now, could cosine law be used? Well, cosine requires all the sides and then you can find an angle. Mostly. So I don't have all the sides. I'm missing this one. Now the cosine law could still work, but only if the side that you're missing, you at least have the angle associated with it. But that is also missing. So I cannot use the cosine law. I can't use it because I don't have all the sides, nor do I have at least two sides and the missing angle or side that we're needing. So I'm actually forced to do the sine law. I don't like it, but I'm going to have to do it. I have b's as my set, and I need, as my full set, I got my b's, so that's going to be required, and I need c's. Because it's an angle, I'm going to start by putting that angle up top. And then there's my b's. Now sine of c, I don't know the c. The lowercase c is 20. Uppercase b is 16. And the lowercase b is 8. Now, if you had a calculator, you could put all this into your calculator. I'm going to use the table because with the sine law, I am forced to consider two, like the duplicates, the two answers. Your calculator won't even do that. So it's kind of nice to use the table. So sine of 16, I'm going to use this table, 16 for sine. Okay, that's right there. So 0.276. So 0.276 over 8 and times 20. Now I can't do that in my head, so I'm actually going to bring out the calculator and turn it on, because apparently it's not even going to turn on. Wow, maybe the batteries are dead. I don't know what's going on here. Okay, well here, I got it working. I don't know what happened. Obviously, there's no batteries for this thing. It's just a emulator, but whatever. 0.276 divided by 8 times 20. What do we got here? 0.69. I like to do 3 digits, so 0.690. And I'm going to use the table now and to find out where can I see closest 690. Let's bring this up. 690. Can I even erase this? Oh, that's weird. Let's see. 690 for sine. Is that at the top? No, it's at the bottom. Okay, so it looks to me like we're between 43 and 44. You're 8 away and 5 away. Let's just go 44. I mean, it's probably 43.8 or something, but let's just go 44. So C is 44 degrees, except it also could be something else. So take a look at the table again. What was I looking at? 695. I have to go to the other page and look out for 695. It's 136. So 136. Now I need to write this stuff down. So I'm going to look here. Angle C was 44 degrees, which it looks like, but it could also be 136, which it clearly does not look like. But these things aren't drawn to scale, and this could be two different things. Like the side of 20 and the side of 8 with the angle 16 could actually spit out and generate two different triangles. So a triangle needs to add up to 180. So I got 44 and I got 16. So what will that be? And then I got 136 and 16. So what will that be? We need to consider that. I need to see as well, because I know that triangles need to add up to 180. Is there any other cosine law or sine law to kind of figure anything else out? So, I mean, again, the cosine law, I said this at the beginning, can only happen when you have all three sides and you got to find the missing one of the angles. So I have all three sides, and then if I had all three sides, I could find any of the angles, except if you don't have one of the sides, then you better at least have this angle. And I don't. So I can't use the cosine law for two reasons. I can't use it because I don't have all three sides. I'm missing the A. Well, I better at least have this. I don't. So the cosine law still does not apply. So now I have to do, I guess, I got to find, like I've still got the full pair of B's. I need a partial set. Well, I had the partial set there. So do I have a partial set here? No, I don't. So like I'm out of options. I can't use the cosine law because I don't have these. I can't use the sine law because I need again, another pair, again, I don't have these. I actually don't have any other option. So when you don't have any other option, the only thing we can do is to say, well, let's do the triangle must add up to 180. What is angle A? 180 minus 44 minus 16. So triangle, again, adds up to 180. So 180 minus the 16 we were given minus this 44 means we have this be 120 degrees. But if I had 180, I minus the 16 that we were given, and now I'm going to minus the 136, I could have this as 28 degrees. So I was forced. I was forced to use sine law, and then I was forced to use this sum has to add up. And when you're in this weird scenario where you're forced to use a sine law, and then you're forced to, there's no other laws to use, but you're forced to just do the sum must add up law, well, then there's two scenarios that we have to consider. And so it's either 120, I think, and then 1, and then just 28. So now that I have that, that's the only thing I could do. Well, now I can find angle, or I guess side A. Now, you could use the sine law, or you could use the cosine law. I personally like to use the cosine law, so I'm going to set that up. Because I have to consider A as 120 or as 28, I'm going to set up two different cosine laws. I need to find A, but I'm going to use scenario 1, where I use 120, and then I'm going to use scenario 2, where I use 28. There's a lot going on here. This is the most amount of work a question could have. Everything after that will be less work. This is, quote unquote, the worst scenario where we have two different possibilities. So let's just set this up down below. Okay, so here it is. I'm finding two scenarios. I'm finding lowercase a. I've written it out, the formula, twice to signify that, okay, I've got two scenarios here, and I need to find A. So B is going to be 8, C is going to be 20 minus 2 times B, or 8 times 20, and then cos of the 120 degrees that we need. Versus here, where I'm going to again do the 8, then also do the 20, of course, still do the 8 and the 20, times cos of, and this one is going to be 28 degrees. Now, I'm just going to speed up a little bit here and just do the math, and then I can talk through it. Okay, so we plug everything in here. We plug in the 8s, we plug in the 20s, we plug in the 120 and 28, and it's actually, the math is very straightforward here. We just put everything in. Everything's on the right-hand side of the equal sign, so I can just put it in. Cos of 120 was negative 0.5. Cos of 28 was 0.833. So I put all the stuff in, and then I had to square root both sides, and I got 25 and 14. So if I had 120 degrees, I get 25, and if I get 28 degrees, I have 14. So I can write that in here, some of the options. So originally, I had found C to be 44 and 136 degrees. Now, when I did 44, I ended up getting the other angle to be 120, and if I did 136, I got my angle to be 28. Now, when I used 120 down below here, what did I do? What did I get with 120? I got 25. So if I used 120, I got 25 rounded, and when I used 28, I ended up getting a side of 14. So when I used this, I got 25. And then here, when I used 28, I got 14. So this pathway is one option. This pathway is another option. 16, 8, and 20, those hold true. So this was a pretty big example of where I was forced to use the sine law. And then after that, I still had nothing. I had no options. So I was forced to use this triangle adds up to 180. I kind of had to take everything at its word. And then I can use the cosine law in two scenarios to find the last side A. Again, this is the most amount of work it could be. The next one will be slightly less because when I get my two angles, I'm actually going to reject one of them. It's not going to work. So I'll just zoom out a bit here, and we'll stop it there.